Hi and welcome back. I hope you have seen previous video of AWS console overview. Now, from here, we are going to explore more on important AWS services. The first one is called IAM. So IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. It is a global service as we saw in previous video. We are going to create our users and assign them to group. So we've already used IAM without knowing. When we created an account, we created a root accounts and has been created by default. This is the root user of our accounts. And the only things you should use it for is to set up your account as we'll do it right now. But then you shouldn't use that account anymore or even share it. What you should be doing instead is create users. So you will create users in IAM, and one user represents one person within your organization. And the users can be grouped together if it makes sense. So let's take an example. We have an organization with 6 people. You have George, Arjun, John, Richard, Andrew, and Mo Gambo, so all these people are in your organization. Now George, Arjun, and John, they work together. They're all developers. So we're going to create a group called the group developers who are regrouping George, Arjun, and John. And it turns out that Richard and Andrew also work together. So we're going to create an operations group. Now we have 2 groups within IAM. Now, groups can only contain users, not other groups. So this is something very important to understand. Groups only contain users. Now, some users don't have to belong to a group. For example, Mo Gambo right here is alone, he does not correspond to any group. That is not best practice. But it is something you can do in AWS. And also, a user can belong to multiple groups. That means that, for example, if you know that John and Richard work together and they're part of your admin team, you can create a third group with John and Richard. And as you can see now, in this example, John and Richard are part of 2 different groups. So this is the possible configurations for IAM. So why do we create users and why do we create groups? Well, because we want to allow them to use our AWS accounts, and to allow them to do so, we have to give them permissions. So users or groups can be assigned what's called a JSON document. We'll see that in later lectures, and it is called a policy, an IAM policy. You don't have to be a programmer. This is not programming. This is just describing in, I think, plain English, what a user is allowed to do, or what a group and all the users within that group are allowed to do. So these policies will help us define permissions of our users. And so in AWS, you don't allow everyone to do everything. That would be dangerous for all if somebody delete any production instance by mistakenly. Because a new user could basically launch so many services and they will cost you a lot of money or would be valid for security. So in AWS, you apply a principle called the least privilege principle. So you don't give more permissions than a user needs. Okay, so if a user just needs access to 3 services, just create a permission for that user. So now we have seen an overview IAM. Let's go ahead and practice creating users and groups.